Hey guys, today we're going to finish chapter 9 by going over section 4, which is all about securing a job. So far, we've kind of talked about what we can do to kind of figure out what career pathway we want to go through. Then we've talked about the application process, and now we need to talk about securing a job. So remember, the whole point of sending in a cover letter, resume, submitting an application is to get that interview. When we get to that interview, that's when we can kind of get them to know us and then they'll hire us. So here are key terms: employment interview, mentor, and exit interview. So like I just said, after submitting a cover letter application, we want that interview. When we have an employment interview, it's just a conversation which the interviewer learns about you and you learn about the job and the company. Sometimes it says two-way conversation. Now remember, sometimes it's just not you and the interviewer. Sometimes it's you and a room full of people that are interviewing you. So there's a couple things that we need to do before we go to the actual interview. Number one, you need to do some research on the place that you're going to. Figure out what they make, what they do, figure out their mission statement. That way you can kind of name drop some stuff when you're in that interview. Before I go to an interview, I always look up the school that I'm going to, figure out what some of, other things that they teach, what the teacher that was there before me, what they taught. I figure out what their mascot is, maybe look at some of their athletic achievements so I can make sure that I mention those things. Prepare questions. Now, this isn't like how much do you make or why are you qualified for that job? These are questions that you would ask about your job. So, some questions that I ask at an interview is, what subjects would I specifically teach? Do you pay for me to go back to school? Like, is there like a stipend with that? Because those are things that you're going to want to know. Practice. Now, I know we've probably all seen funny interviews of, or videos of people, doing some interview practice. Have your mom or dad or your friend ask you some basic interview questions. You can Google them. Basic interview questions for a teacher, basic interview questions for McDonald's, basic interview questions for retail manager. Those are things that you can look up. And so you kind of have an idea. The more you practice, the more comfortable you will be when you're answering these questions in the actual interview. Every time I've gone to an interview after it and I go to the next one, I just feel that much more confident because I've had that practice. Arrive on time, 5 to 10 minutes early. Anything more than 10 plus, you start to psych yourself out. And if you arrive earlier, you never know what your interviewer is doing. Maybe they already had another appointment. Maybe you're rushing them through their lunch. Arrive on time. Dress appropriately. The rule of thumb is dress one step above of what you would wear on a day-to-day basis. So if you're applying at a place that dresses casually, then the step above that would be, maybe a suit. If you wear a suit every day, then wear, the nicest suit that you have. Those just, you need to look that up before you go. So make sure you dress appropriately. Go alone. Don't have your mom sit out in the parking lot or in the waiting room. Don't bring your kids. Go by yourself. During the interview, um, they're probably going to ask you questions about how you deal with pressure. Make sure that you have some thought process of like how you reacted in certain situations. You want to be honest, but you also need to make sure that you are coming out in a good light. Talk about skills that you have that make you a great employee, answer each question completely, thank the interviewer for their time. There might be some questions that are asked of you that you're not really sure about, and some things to do to kind of help you out on that. You know, Maybe say, can you repeat that question? Gives you a little bit more time to think. Never say, I don't know. I had a friend who I was asking her about an interview. She just went on and she's like, yeah, I pretty much said, I don't know for 50% of the questions. Do you think she got the job? No. So if you're not sure and they've repeated it, you can say, can you give me an example? Or I'm not really sure what you're asking on this. Can you rephrase? They're not going to care about that. They want your answer. And I think it looks good that you're following up on that and you want some clarification on it. So never say I don't know. Try and come up with something. And remember, with you practicing some of those, common questions beforehand, you might have, an idea of what you can do. After the interview, one of the things that I always super suggest is send a follow up letter or a thank you letter. I have a pack of thank you cards in my desk. Anytime I've ever been interviewed, I just get out one of those, write a thank you card, and send it on my way. That way, if you forgot to mention anything that you think is important, you can do it in there. It shows that you really care. That's going the extra step. You also need to evaluate your interview performance. If you go out of that interview and you're like, oh, I really stuttered the whole time, I didn't know how to answer questions, I said I don't know a lot, think about the questions that were asked of you and what you can do to improve later. Are there any habits that you do? Like, do you pick at your thumbnail? Do you chew your nails? Do you tap your finger? Do you tap your leg when you're in the interview? Kind of think about those things, and so you can do better the next time you interview. And really, you need to be patient. You never know how many other people they're going to be interviewing. So it might take them a while to get back to you. One of the things that I always ask, and when it says, preparing for the interview, prepare questions, one of the questions that I ask is, when will you have an idea of when you can let me know if I got the job or not? And when I ask that question, they can say, well, we have one more person to interview. We'll get back to you next week. Or we still have several people to interview. It's going to be a while. That was one mistake I learned in one of my interviews that I did. I didn't ask that question. And a month went by and I was like, well, I guess I didn't get that job. And they just had so many people they had to interview that they just weren't able to make that decision. So ask that and, be patient. I obviously wasn't patient when that scenario, because after a month I was like, okay, I didn't get it. You've done your interview, you're waiting, and you finally get the call that you were offered the position. Now, you don't have to accept the position. There's several things that are going to go into that. Remember, we talked about our interests and values in one of the previous sections. Are we going to make enough money? Do we have to move? What are the hours going to be like? Did you like the environment when you were at the place? I've gone places that I've been on an interview and I just did not like the feel of the organization. The place didn't look very nice. The people weren't very nice. Those things go into it. So you got to weigh the pros and cons of that. If they call and offer you the position and you're not sure, or even if you are sure, you need to say you need to think about it. Making sure that you've asked about health insurance and benefits and salary, because those things are going to need to be taken into consideration. Now, with going with that kind of reminds me with the interview. Here's the thing, guys. If you apply for a place and you get an interview, I would always strongly suggest going. Even if you're like, I'm probably not going to take it, still go to the interview because you're going to get practice. Now, don't tell them that you're not going to accept the position, because then they're going to feel like they wasted their time. But always go to an interview because you get that experience and you get more comfortable. And hey, you never know. Maybe all of your other things fall through and you get that job. So always go to an interview. Always take some time once they've offered you the job to think about if you want to accept it or not. So with the salary and financial factors, we talked about what type of work are you going to do and how, and your level of experience can that affect your pay? If you need to ask for more money because where you're at now, you're making X amount. You can do that. You just need to be careful about asking for more money. You need to make sure you ask about the benefits. I said insurance, vacation time, retirement programs. As you get more versed in this, you'll feel more comfortable, and you've had jobs, you'll be more comfortable asking about these things. But it's very important that you do. Parking. Is it free? Where do you park? Are there gym memberships, discounts? Because I'm a teacher, I have several discounts that I get because I am a teacher. One of my cousins, he has like a list of things that he gets discounts for. He just works for this company. And if he buys a GE appliance and he doesn't work for GE, he gets like 15% off. If he goes to certain amusement parks, he gets a percentage off. So ask about those things as well, because that could factor in. And then the organizational environment, the leadership style. We've talked about that. Are they, super demanding, tell you how to do it step by step by step? Or are they like, here, this is your task, get it done however you want? That factors into it. The dress code. Now, guys, for some people, that is like a big thing. If they could wear jeans every day, I'm on it. Yes, I like it. If you have to wear a suit and tie every day, maybe that's not really for them. The physical workspace. I don't know about you guys, but like I could not sit in an office all day in front of a computer. That's not me. Um, so like for me, like I do have a desk in my room, but I rarely sit at it except when I'm like grading or, doing a lesson, like coming up with a lesson plan. You got to think about your physical workspace. Do have them show you where you'd be working when you're in your interview so you kind of have an idea. And then the social atmosphere. Do the people generally look like they're in a pleasant mood while you're touring the organization or company? Do they look mad, upset? Does it seem like they're having a good time, that people are being social? When they're showing you around, do they show you like a common lunch area that people go to? Those are some things that you can pick up on when you're on your interviews. So let's say we've taken that job. We've decided we like the pay, we like the benefits. Now we need to, keep that job, because it's not always guaranteed that we keep a job once we get hired. They could decide that our work is not up to snuff, or they don't, we're not working well with others. So there's some on the job behavior that we need to keep track of. Your attitude makes a whole difference. Are you positive when you're at work? Do people like being around you? Or are you super negative about everything? Do you blame others for maybe something that you did? You have to make sure that you are able to work with coworkers and be in a team, because that's all, working at a business is about. When you go to work, are you acting professionally? Are you cursing in front of your boss or other people? Are you dressing appropriately? Are you breaking the rules? Those things can severely impact your image and could, be a factor in if you're hired or you're keeping, if you're going to still be at that place and you're not going to be fired. So here's some strategies that you can take in order to be successful. Ask questions. If you don't know how to do something, ask it. Avoid complaining. Honor the time for breaks. Consider your appearance. Be on time. Be friendly with everyone. Show you're dependable. Follow the rules. And find a mentor. All of these things are really good strategies to keep in mind. Make sure you're following the rules. It doesn't mean like if somebody's taking a pin home that you're tattling on them. What I'm saying is, don't show up 10 minutes late to work every day. Don't not follow the dress code. Don't, make it so that you're not doing what you should be doing. Be friendly. Showing up on time shows that you're dependable. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Those are just things to keep it that your manager is going to be satisfied in your work. Now, there are going to be times when you leave your position. We're never going to get fired because we're super awesome people. That's a whole different story. But when you get your first job, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be your job forever and ever and ever. There are times when you might need to sever ties with the company. And you really need to make sure that you go about this in the right way. Always give 2 weeks notice. That way they have time to find a replacement for you or to shuffle the work so they can make up for you not being there. Finish all current projects. So, like for me, if I wanted to leave Bismarck, do you think I'm going to do it like right in the middle of the semester? No, I would wait to the end of the school year. Um, have an exit interview, go and talk to your boss, talk about things, maybe ask, are there things that you thought I could improve on? It could even be like, you know, I really enjoyed working here. I would really like to use you as a reference, blah, blah, blah. Have that exit interview, leave on a good note, say goodbye to your coworkers, because you never know what could happen and you might need to, go back to that place if things don't work out with your new place. So always be courteous when you leave. Don't leave them in a pinch. You never know, because if you leave in a bad spot, they might not have good feeling towards you and, could maybe tarnish your reputation a little bit. So that's it on chapter 9. You have one more assignment to do for me. I'll post that probably in the next couple days after you've finished watching this video and you filled out your form. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll talk to you guys later.